Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this video. It's me again, Teacher Kent, and today we're going to review all of the things that we talked about or we studied for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We need to review this because we're going to have a test. That's right. We're going to have an online test next week, or this week rather. So, to make sure that all of you can answer the online test, we are going to review it today. Are you ready? Let's start. Okay, the first thing that we're going to review is all about the five non living components, which are water, sunlight, air, temperature, and soil. Now, the five non living components actually interact with the living things in an environment. They act so much that they help decide what type of living thing, whether it be a plant or an animal, will come and live there. Do you remember? Let's take let's take let's remember together, shall we? Okay, first things first, water. All living things need water. Rivers, lakes, rains, and groundwater provide water for living things. Animals and plants have different water needs. Too much water can kill living things too. Do you remember what I said before? Some animals live in a place where there is so little water, like, for example, what we call a camel. A camel lives in a place with little to no water. If that place is dry and has little or no water, we can assume that an animal known as a camel can live there. Next, rivers. If a place has too much water, in fact, if the place is underwater, we can safely assume that the animals that live there are animals that need water to survive, or animals that live in water, like, for example, a fish, a squid, a shark, a dolphin, and all the other things that live in water. Too much water can kill living things too. Like, for example, what we call as a natural disaster, a flood. A flood is very destructive to all living things, whether it be plants or animals. And that is how water interacts with the living things around it. Are you ready for the next one? Let's try and see. Okay, what is the next one? Oh, let me just forward a little bit. Sunlight. Sunlight provides all energy to the earth. Plants and animals need sunlight to survive. Some animals hunt without sunlight, and even corals who are underwater also need sunlight. Basically, what I said before is that sunlight is where we get most of our energy. Not only the human energy, but the plants and animals' energy. Let's go to the examples here. The cheetah. The cheetah is a type of animal that usually attacks or hunts in the morning. They don't hunt at night, they just hunt in the morning. So if a place has too little light or sunlight, we can assume that a cheetah will not be able to live there. Next. Yes, like what I said before, corals need sunlight because corals are like the plants of the ocean, and they need sunlight to produce food or energy to grow and to help other animals live inside them, such as small fishes. Next is what we call a bat. Remember what I said? If the place has little or to no sunlight, most probably you will find these kinds of animals there. The bats. The bats, they do not see very well. That's why they live in dark areas. And that is why they hunt at night, because most of the animals are asleep during nighttime. So they can freely move around without getting caught by other animals. Next non living thing is air. Plants and animals need air to survive. Fish also need oxygen. Plants need carbon dioxide, and plants even need wind to move their seeds. Let's take to the examples. Just like what I said, plants need carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. And us humans, we give out carbon dioxide and they give us oxygen. Plants and humans are in a relationship, and those in the middle of the relationship are the air particles, the carbon dioxide and the oxygen. If humans will be extinct and there are no animals left to make carbon dioxide, the trees will probably all die because they need carbon dioxide to survive. Same goes with humans. If there are no more trees on Earth, we will lose all of our usable oxygen. And also, some plants like this dandelion needs the air in order to show or to carry its seeds to other places. The seeds will then make other plants like the dandelion. And it's not just the dandelion. Other plants that can be carried by the wind are usually using the wind to make other plants. So if an area has too much carbon dioxide, you need to plant more trees there because the trees will thrive or live better in an area with too much carbon dioxide. Next, temperature. The temperature of an area affects what plants and animals live there. Some animals hibernate when the temperature goes very low. Birds also fly south for the winter. This cute little hamster is hibernating. And what does hibernating mean? It's like the animal is almost asleep. It's still alive. It's not really 100% asleep. It still moves around a little bit, but it only moves a little, just enough to get its food. These kinds of animals will prepare weeks before the coming of snow. They will then get all their needed food and water tucked away into their houses, and when the snow comes, they will just sleep almost all of the time and only wake up to eat or to drink water. Those animals that can be found in wintry areas typically hibernate. For countries like Thailand, where you experience dry winter, there are not much animals that hibernate like this one. Only those areas that have snow. Next, these are what we call birds. There's always the English saying that says, birds of the same feather flock together, which means that these birds always go together in groups. And these birds, they find that when the temperature goes down, they need to fly to another area together. And once they fly to another area together, they can then live in that area until that area starts to become colder. That is what we call birds flying south for the winter. If you live in an area that is prone to cold, you might find some types of birds that live there. If you live in an area that is prone to being hot, like Thailand, you will also notice that there's specific birds that live in very hot areas. That is how temperature affects what living thing can live in the specific area. final, of course, let's not forget the camel. The camel have evolved to such an extent that they are not afraid of very hot climates. In fact, they like to live in those climates. If an area is too hot, a camel might suit itself to live there. Let's go to the next one. Soil. Soil covers most surfaces of the earth. Most plants need soil to grow. Some animals like worms and moles live on the soil. Now, the soil, if an area has, shall we say, too much sand, not many plants can live there. However, if the area has, like this in the picture, enough for big trees to survive, then those big trees, you will likely find them in those specific areas. The same goes with the area with too much sand. If an area has too much sand, you will expect a cactus to live there because the cactus can live in sandy places. Oh, the animals, the earthworms, they don't really live in sandy places. They live in rich soil. So if you go to the desert, I don't think you can find a worm there. You might find another type of worm, but not this one, because this one lives on clean and wet pieces of land. Of course, moles too. If the ground is clean enough, you will see moles live underground. So depending on what type of land you are seeing, that land will then help you understand what kind of animal or plant will live there. The same goes with the forest, okay? I think that's enough for the first one. I think it's time to go to our next topic. I hope you're ready because this will also come out during the test. The next topic is all about environmental protection. In environmental protection, let me just click this one first. Okay. First, before we talk about environmental protection, we should know what are we protecting the environment from. Usually, there are two types of disasters. Remember, a disaster is something that happens, something bad that happens to a specific area. There is the natural disaster, the first one, the type of disaster that is caused by nature, such as flood, earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic eruption, monsoon, wildfires. Let's do this one by one. The flood happens when there's too much water in an area or where there is so many garbage in a city that the garbage stop the water from going underground. Or if the area has little or no trees, it will also contribute to flood. Next is earthquake. Usually earthquakes come from the movement of the earth. Sometimes it also comes if there's an volcanic eruption. Next, we have a tsunami. A tsunami is usually caused by a volcanic eruption underwater. If there's a volcano underwater somewhere nearby, it will cause a tsunami once the volcano erupts or explodes. A volcanic eruption is a natural disaster that occurs when there's so much lava under the volcano that it can't control it anymore and it just pops. The monsoons are caused by, well, they're natural causes. They're actually made on bodies of water, like this one in the picture. Wildfires are caused by too much hotness in the atmosphere, or if the atmosphere is very, very dry, like what happens in Thailand during summer. Summer in Thailand is very hot, so what it does is that it makes it so that wildfires can be very possible. Of course, we also got man-made disasters. And those ones, the previous ones, natural disasters,
We can try and predict once what will happen or when they will come, but we can't control them. This is what we're trying to protect our environment against man made disasters or disasters made by man. We can try to control it or to minimize these types of disasters. First is the flood. We know the flood is a natural disaster. It will flood if there is such a strong rain. However, even with a small amount of rain, some areas will still flood because those areas have a lot of garbage or not enough plants or animals. Next, deforestation. Remember floods? Deforestation is what happens before there is flooding. The forest is being cut down to help make our needs, which are paper and appliances. Look at that. Isn't that so sad? Half of those areas used to be where animals live, but now it's nothing but an open field. And once the rain or strong rain comes down there, people or that area will experience a very strong possibility of flooding. Next, poaching or the killing of animals just for fun or for whatever reason people choose to do so. This is a rhino. The rhino is actually an endangered animal. Endangered means that it is in danger of being extinct. Extinction means that the animals do not live on earth anymore. We have killed every single animal. Rhinos have less than 1,000 alive today, and people are trying to find ways to make them grow, have more kids because they need it so that the rhinos can live more on the earth. However, humans like to kill them because they like to cut the horns of the rhinos. I don't know why, that's just one thing they want to do. So, what did humans do? We created pollution. Pollution is the presence of an or introduction into the environment of a substance or thing that has harmful or poisonous effects. There are three types: water, air, and land. Water pollution happens when the garbage or the pollution invades water. It stops the animals from living there. Same goes with the land pollution. And we also have air pollution. Air pollution is when factories give out so many smoke that the smoke sometimes becomes a smog and it is unhealthy for people to smell. So, what should us humans do? We can do environmental protection by reduce, reuse, recycle, the three R's. To reduce means that we are going to lessen the usage of items such as plastic because plastic takes a long time to dissolve under the ground. Reuse is making use of another thing again. For example, plastic bags. In Tesco, they don't have any more plastic bags. You need to bring your own plastic bag. That's why you are reusing it instead of before where Tesco would give you a plastic bag every single time. Those plastic bags would become very dangerous to the environment. And finally, we have recycling. Recycling is when we make old things become new again, such as paper products, glass products, metal products, and plastic products. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.